Welcome back to another episode of STL Real Estate Roundtable. I'm your host, Jaden Barr, CEO and team leader of Keller Williams Realty Chesterfield. And today I'm joined by a very special guest. Ashley Dailey. Ashley, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's dive right in. I start off pretty much every episode the same way, which is what got you started in a career in real estate?
So I had always wanted to go into real estate. When I was in college, I thought about taking a gap year, so at 19, to get into it, and I didn't, and I wish I would have. That would have been nice. And then after college, I got into the corporate world. I was a regional sales manager for a logistics company back in 2019. I'd done it for a few years. Had my first son, got sick of traveling so much and thought, why not take the leap right now? And so I dove right in and so happy that I did. The big reason for it, especially at that time, was because I was out there selling a product or a service that I had no control of. So I would be selling to different customers and there's a possibility we wouldn't be able to sufficiently provide the service. And so with real estate, I never look at it like sales. I look at it like relationship building, but I am selling something, and that's my knowledge and my ability to help people. So I really like that because I can control that.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's awesome. Okay. So it was 2019 when you got licensed? Okay. So right before.
Yeah.
Before COVID.
I had a taste of the real estate back then, and then COVID happened and everything changed.
Yeah. So what was that first year in the business like for you?
It was interesting because, and people who I knew in real estate had kind of warned me, it's not as glamorous as it seems to be, which I expected. But I thought, I can get licensed, and I know a lot of people that buy and sell houses, so I'll have clients right away. And no, you don't, because you have to get the experience. And I was so frustrated at that time, but I understood. And so it was slow growth, but I've been fortunate enough where I never wanted to purchase leads or anything like that. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But I really wanted to do it on my own by working my SOI, building the relationships. So first year in real estate, I think I had a couple of transactions, and it was a learning process through each one. Because in, real estate classes, they don't really teach us what we need to know. Right. So it was just kind of learning as I go.
Yeah. Okay. So is it slower than you expected to start, right? And then, come to the realization this, there's
and learning
something to this.
Yes, right? Absolutely. Learning how, to stay top of mind with clients. I'm fortunate now where, again, it's all my clients are SOIs or previous clients or referrals. And then, people that see me on social media or different things that I do that way. So, but that all comes with experience.
Right. I think the stats 80% of agents are out of the business within 18 months. So if you can just stick with it, do the work, I always, when I'm coaching with agents, it's it's a 90-day cycle, right? So if you look at where your business is at today, whether it's good, bad, or, ugly, you can track back 90 days previous and see the work that you were doing. Yeah. And that's what's showing up today, right?
Off,
so
right.
If you're slow today, odds are 90 days ago, you were probably taking a couple of vacations, maybe weren't as focused on the business. If you're really busy, it's probably, because of the work that you put in.
Absolutely. And that's so true. Because even now I still can see it sometimes. I've been able to put some systems in place where it's helped me a lot with lead generation and growth. However, I have periods where I get really busy in the real estate world. And so I kind of neglect that lead generation and staying consistent with that. And then things kind of slow down. And it's I look back, it's riding that wave, right? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, it makes sense. I kind of let my foot off the gas over here. So,
yeah. So talk to me about your background at your previous job and how that's kind of translated over to real estate. Do you take anything from that previous work experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of cumulative with that work experience, I graduated with my bachelor's in public relations. So every role that I've had has been dealing with people in some capacity. I think in my previous role, a big one was like CRMs and tracking that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Cold calling, being able to I did cold calling a lot in person, not on the phone. So I would just walk into these industrial warehouses or different offices and just introduce myself.
Be like, who's in charge? I need to talk to him.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. And explain what I needed to do. And like, you got to, talk to the front desk worker and kind of work your way up. But staying consistent with that and knowing that a lot of times you're going to be told no. I think it's like at least 10 no's for every yes, or something along that line, and not letting it defeat you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I always tell people, if you knew you were 20 no's away from your next listing appointment or, buyer appointment, how quickly would you work through all the no's?
Absolutely.
You'd be like, no, I can't wait to get a no, right? Because I'm one step closer to the yes,
Absolutely.
Right? So that's definitely a mindset shift, I feel like, for a lot of people. You're going to be told no. There's thousands of agents out there, and just because that person chooses to work with someone else doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad agent.
No.
You don't know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, so you have your first year. You're learning through every transaction, and then what? Like, how do we get to where we are today? Because you've got a successful business today.
Yes.
So how did that happen?
Time and growth, lots of effort. No, I've been with a couple brokerages since I've started. And I think each brokerage I went with, I learned something new from that and made contacts. And then finally settled where I am today. And I've been fortunate where I can kind of run my business exactly how I want. I have that autonomy. So I would say, going through those experiences with different brokerages. And then obviously I always say every transaction you learn something new, and applying those things that you learn through each transaction. Because I mean, if you get 100% smooth transaction, it's like, is this real? Something's wrong. Something's wrong.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So, a lot of work, time, right? Where does the majority of your business come from today? You mentioned really focusing on your SOI and database. Like, did you grow up in St. Louis, or how did that database come to be?
So I did not grow up in St. Louis. I'm originally from Pittsburgh.
High five.
Did you?
Not from St. Louis.
Where are you from?
I'm from California, Missouri.
Okay.
So 20 minutes west of Jeff City.
That's funny. So I went to college at California University of Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. There we go.
I lived a couple years in California, Pennsylvania.
Nice. Okay.
But yeah, I'm originally from Pittsburgh. I moved out here, I'd say 12 years ago. 2014. So 11 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm fortunate because my husband, who I moved out here for, is originally from the area and right from where we live and like kind of the community that I try to really focus on. And so he has a large family, a lot of friends. And so and I was able to create my own relationships with them and friends throughout that. Also a network of colleagues or people that I had met since living here. So I'd lived here about 4 years, or sorry, not 4 years, but 5 years before, getting into real estate. So focusing on the connections that I had that way. And then since being in real estate, I really try to network within the community. I have 2 children. They both go to school in the area that I live in. I try to volunteer for different events in the area I live in. And then I have like a women's Facebook group that we try to do events. So just really involving myself and being genuine about it. Because then I just want people in my community in the areas that I want to most service. When they think of real estate, think of me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned 2 kids. How old are your kids?
4 and 7.
4 and 7. Okay. So how do you balance between real estate, which I feel like is a career that you can't ever fully turn off.
Right.
Like you can do your best to kind of, set boundaries and things like that, but it's kind of, you're kind of on call at all times. So how do you balance, being a full-time mom with being a full-time agent?
That's a good question. Chaotically. No, I'm kidding.
You're like, I don't.
I don't. No, I'm very fortunate because my husband, he's self-employed as well, but he can work from home. And so whenever I have stuff come up throughout the day, if the kids are home, I have the flexibility to go address what needs to be done there. They're both in school, so when they're in school, I have flexibility there. But my kids kind of know, and there's mom guilt, but if I have something going on, even if we're at like a family thing and real estate wise, I'm like, okay, give me a minute. Mommy's working. But I have a very good partner that helps me with that. So if it weren't for him, I don't know how I would do that.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome. We talked about, right, the good, right, that's happening in your business and things that are going well. What are some areas of growth or things that you feel like you could, you could work on over the next, 6 to 12 months that would really take your business to the next level?
I would say something that I know I kind of struggle with is, like I mentioned earlier, I had put systems into place to help with lead generation, but staying consistent with those when I do get busier. Also, I am not great at like pop buys and different things like that. I do touch point with my clients, previous clients, things like that. But, just dropping in and saying hi, I'm not great at that. And that's something I do want to grow with. I had another answer. I'm trying to think what it was. Oh, I'm very, I don't want to say controlling when it comes to a transaction, but I've thought about hiring a transaction coordinator to help free up my time so I can focus on other things that are more important instead of like the deadlines and the contracts. However, I haven't done that. And the reason is because I've done it in the past and I know how I am where I still am doing everything. And it's not because of any bad thing on the transaction coordinator's part. It's giving up control of the deal because I feel like when I'm working with my clients, I want them to know they're working with me. And I know if I had a transaction coordinator on my team, it would still be the same thing. They wouldn't know the difference, but I'm very controlling to make sure everything runs smoothly. So,
yeah, no, I hear that a lot when talking with a lot of successful agents. Like they want to
like being able to delegate,
have their finger on the pulse of what's happening.
Yeah. So I'm working through that.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I heard a quote. It was last week. It was, your systems are perfectly designed to give you the results you're getting. Right. And so I think, as business owners, everything comes down to systems. Right. Yes. And even with, it might sound weird, but like relationships, right? Like how do you create a system around making sure that you stay top of mind? And it's not a transactional thing. It's very much relational, even though it is a system.
Yeah.
People sometimes think, oh, it's just, that's just because it's part of the system, but it's very relational.
I agree 100%. Like I used Popeyes as an example or something like that. It's because I want my clients to know that after the transaction is done, I don't get, like, a lot of my clients are buying their houses and that is their forever home. But I want them to know that like we actually built a relationship together, which I'm fortunate. I know most of my clients do know that. But I still want to see you. I still want to know what's going on. If you're doing something at the house, I want to see the updates. I want to know how the kids are. And so I'm good about doing that, like with social media, but sometimes I would like to make it more personal with different systems.
Absolutely. So my wife is licensed. She doesn't really do much on the real estate side, but I call her our director of fun. Yeah. So she's responsible for planning like those client events and those meaningful touches. And I don't know if you're anything like me, I feel like a lot of like successful agents, they kind of just get caught with their head down, like what's the next thing, next thing. And I think we all do a really terrible job of just pausing and like reflecting on like how far we've come, the growth that's occurred. And sometimes growth doesn't mean more units and more volume. Growth can mean more time at home. I made it to the family dinners like 5 nights this week and was more present at home. So I think growth comes in a lot of different areas, but I think having like those systems like the Popeyes, right? Whenever you're trying to coordinate, oh my gosh, I have 50 addresses to go to drop off these things to past clients. And you can look at that as like a burden, or you can say, what a blessing it is to have 50 past clients that I get to touch base with and coordinate all this, meaningful interaction. So I think having things like that kind of brings you back to reality of like, man, this is a really cool industry. And I'm very blessed to like have the business that I have and the success that I have. And
that's like that mindset shift, because I'm big on that, not only with professional, but in personal life as well. And trying to shift that where it's not like, oh, I have to do this. It's I get to do this. And I think that's a great example with the Popeyes. And I know some people, will have people on their team or different helpers where they'll go drop the, gifts off or on the front porch. And I think that's why I'm hesitant to do, because I know I want to be there and I want to knock on the door and I want to like coordinate a time that works where I can see them.
Okay. So, looking forward to, the next year, 3 years, 5 years, kind of like what's the vision for your business?
So I would say realistically, at least within the next 3 years, starting more micro, within the next year, I would like to at least have a transaction coordinator.
There we go.
And be able to have that and have, be more consistent with the systems. Within the next 3 years, I would like to have a small team, and whether that just be me and another agent working together, and that transaction coordinator, which I think that's what I would enjoy more than like trying to grow a big team. But yeah, and I would say, because at least then that would, like you said, my goal is to continue to grow, obviously, with my business, but there's only so much time in a day. And I like to also be able to have freedom to spend time and actually be present with my family and or friends. And so if I was able to at least grow a small team to be able to have a little bit more flexibility as it relates to that.
Absolutely. I think with talking with successful agents on a regular basis, it's like people are either looking for more time or more money. And a lot of agents get to a point where they're making the amount of money that they're comfortable with and they're good with that. And they maybe didn't plan for their business to blow up like it did. And they're kind of like, I mean, this is great, but I'm like drowning. Like I can't do
There's only so much one person can do and still be successful.
And so that's where that leverage, the systems, the team building, because that's a really cool thing too. It's like be able to provide opportunities for other agents to get what they want.
Exactly. And that's the way I look at it too. It would be great to have, an agent that I work with that I'm able to help grow in their business. So I agree.
Yeah. So we're entering into 2026. Do you have any predictions for where the market's headed? Have you noticed any changes recently in the market?
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously rates took a dip. And so that I feel like has brought some more buyers out. I feel like over the last few months, St. Louis is a unique market compared to nationwide. I know nationwide, it kind of got slower. It was not as much of a seller's market as we've been seeing in previous years. I feel like St. Louis still very much a seller's market. But I did notice some buyers just kind of like sitting and waiting because of what rates were doing. However, with the rate decline, I have seen more buyers coming out. Next year, I mean, just based off things I've been hearing and seeing, I think rates are going to continue to go down. I know I forget who published it, but I read something like a month ago that said they're expecting potentially rates in Q4 of next year to be like much lower. I heard even as low as, low 5s and 4s. So I think if we see that, I think we're in for another 2021 potentially. Right. Because it's a simple supply and demand issue with inventory. So
yeah, you mentioned St. Louis is a unique market. I think that's definitely the case we have, I would say, less new construction than a lot of other cities, and we're also blocked by the river. So the new construction is happening further and further away from the city. And so the supply demand issue, there's just not enough supply for the demand that's out there. So I think regardless of rates, it's still going to be a competitive market. I think we are shifting more towards like a balanced market where it's more normal, which is not what sellers and buyers are accustomed to. So it feels like it's a big shift, but it's really not. It's like
normalize it a little bit. Yeah. And I feel like we've seen that for most of the year. But it just depends, certain areas, certain houses. But when you do notice, like, I think it's always interesting for either sellers or buyers when you have a house sitting a little bit longer and having those conversations as agents, like let's say on the sales side, talking with the sellers, okay, we shot for this, it's not happening. And so having those what can be difficult conversations because sellers still have in their minds that it's 2021 and we're not seeing that as much anymore. But then also buyers being like, oh, that's sat for 2 weeks. What's wrong with it? And it's
I'm going to submit a low ball.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I think there's two topics that a lot of agents either want to talk about or they're scared to talk about. I think it's social media and AI. I think those are two big topics in the real estate world and really in every industry. It's been a topic of conversation. So let's dive into those real quick. Like, what's your take on social media from a real estate agent's perspective? How do you utilize it, and kind of what's your approach to social media?
So I love,
because you crush it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So,
no, I love social media as an agent. I think the biggest, and some agents, I don't think utilize it enough. Some I don't think necessarily they're doing it incorrectly, but I could see, I wanted to differentiate myself with social media. I didn't want to do just like the just solds or under contracts or any of that. I really wanted to connect with my social media following as to who I am personally, because that's the one thing I want my clients to feel comfortable with, is not only like my knowledge and expertise within real estate, but also knowing, hey, I think I could enjoy working with Ashley. So like a personality thing. So I utilize social media kind of just showing myself, my life, how I operate within real estate, especially on my stories. That's where I do a lot of my stuff. But I want my clients, like I said, to get to know me personally. So I try to use the 80-20 rule when it comes to social media, where it's 80% usually personal me and what I'm doing in my day-to-day, which a lot of times is real estate. And then 20% sprinkling in like, okay, we're going to have to talk business here. Let's get professional. And really, I want to educate you on this. So, yeah.
Yeah. So do you have a plan for it, or is it just kind of like just post in my day?
Yeah. So that's one of the systems that I'm trying to put in place.
There we go.
I have tried many of times to kind of come up with like a content calendar and like, here's what I'm going to, and like still in the stories talking about my day or whatever, but like, here's what, a reel I'm going to do or a video or a post over here. I tend to not stick with that. Yeah. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing because again, that's, authentic to me. Like, stuff came up. I couldn't get it done. But one thing that I do want to do more of, especially in 2026, is creating those content calendars. And then you can like pre-batch, edit videos and do all of that pre-batch content. And so I think if I can do that with time blocking and all the other tools, I think that would be good. Because I go through phases where I'm posting a lot on social media, and then I'm kind of like, I get a little burnt out, and I'm like, I'm going to pause for a minute.
Take the foot off the gas.
Yeah, and then I come back. And so it's like just kind of maintaining a steady balance of it.
Yeah, I was talking with a friend of mine, I think this week, and I was just saying how this podcast has been like the most consistent thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't think there's probably anything in my business that I've done as consistently as this podcast. Yeah. And I'm like, why is that the case? Well, okay, I have a designated time every month. I pre-batch 4 episodes at a time. And I know that the people behind the cameras producing it are counting on me to have quality guests.
Yes.
So I have to have that schedule. That's got to be on my calendar. It doesn't exist.
Yep.
And then I know that like, this is something that I enjoy doing. Yeah. So that's why I'm consistent with it as well. And, there's a lot of things in place that I'm like, okay, what if I took that mentality to other things?
Yeah.
And then what would the consistency look like there?
I agree 100%. And I mean, and you do so well with this podcast. And the nice thing is even with this podcast, it correlates, it gives you the social media content as well. But I think, like you said, having it planned on the calendar, it's a non-negotiable and you enjoy doing it. Yeah. And that's how I feel with social media. I really do enjoy doing it, but it sometimes, again, going back to like that authenticity with like, that's my mind with social media. I'm like, well, if I have this like pre-planned and I'm going to have to hop on and like do a video and edit it and talk about this, I'm like, I don't feel like talking about that today, but also then a mindset shift I need to do is like, well, this will help somebody potentially.
Right.
But I am pretty like, that's why I like the stories, because a lot of times it's just me in my car talking to the camera, which is therefore my social media followers. And so that's the one thing where you can always catch me on stories talking, yapping in my car. So.
Professional yapper.
Yes.
Love it. So, okay. So social media, we touched on that. AI, like how are you utilizing AI at all? Like how does that play a role in your business?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many different things that AI can do. And I think we're all learning as it grows.
Learning is it's learning us.
Yeah, right. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a helpful tool. Obviously, there's the basic one where it's like, I have a listing, here's the information on it, write me a description, and then going in and editing that. I was for a while using it to help me, write my post for social media. I stopped doing that. And the reason is because no matter how much I told it, hey, make it sound more like me, by the time I was done, I was writing the post itself.
Right.
And again, I want any post I do on social media to come from my mind. So I stopped using it for that, but I know a lot of people do, which isn't a bad thing. It's a time saver, right? Mm-hmm. That's another thing. I've utilized it to help me put better systems in place. Like I say, hey, I'm looking to do this, this, and this. What can I do within my business to make me get to that point? So big for goal setting. Mm-hmm. And then also like, here are things I enjoy about my career. Here are things I don't want to focus on as much. What are different things I can do there? Mm-hmm. So I think it's huge. There's so many different ways you can utilize it. And I get mad that I don't utilize it enough, but
right. Yeah, I think it's like a 20-60-20. They were always at a conference and there was a guy, he's, all about AI and using it in your business and things like that. And he said, you do you. So it's like you do 20% of the work. It does 60%, and then you go in and you tweak the final 20% to
absolutely
make it exactly what you want.
I agree. And another way I've been utilizing it, which has been interesting, is whenever I get listings or have a potential listing appointment, I go in, I tell it about, the house, the area, all the information it needs. And I say, what do you think is the ideal buyer for this? And then it tells me, and, it's not always accurate. Like it doesn't know everything about the areas like we do as agents. Mm-hmm. But it gives me a good idea. So then I can go back to my clients and say, hey, based off my research, this is like the buyer that we're going to try and focus on. And then that also in turn helps me with my marketing efforts.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. One use case I've had recently is we have a tool called the KPA. It's a personality assessment for realtors. Mm-hmm. And so based off that, it kind of gives you your strengths, your weaknesses, kind of where you should focus on in your business based off your personality type. And I'll throw that into ChatGPT, and then it creates a business plan that focuses on cool. Your preferred communication style and personality and things like that. So
that's right. It's try that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. But it's a really cool. Again, it's a tool, right? So it's not good, not bad. It's just, how you use it.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Okay. What else should we dive into?
Well, on the AI topic, what are your thoughts? Because I know obviously there's been talks about AI taking over all the jobs and all the things. And I've heard a lot of people obviously with rumblings of, real estate agents are going to be out of a job in 5 years because of AI. I personally don't believe it because you can't take away the personal relationship building aspect of real estate. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. It's a great question. I'm kind of same train of thought as you. Like, I don't think you can replace the relational human aspect of real estate. And I think it kind of takes us, as a society to kind of realize like what we're missing. It takes time to realize that. And so I think even now, like, you see like younger generations are becoming more conscious of like their health and their mental health and like taking that so much more seriously. Like I think, a growing number of the population is becoming like sober and focusing on cold plunging and saunas and things like that. And so they saw the negative side effects of all that stuff. And they're like, why would we not focus on this? Right. So, but that took time to realize that. Right. And so, kind of same thing with like social media, and you see all the there's a tool called Brick now. I get ads for it every single day.
I have a friend that just got it. She swears by it.
Yes.
And I kind of want to get it.
Yes. We can both order it before this episode.
Perfect.
But it shuts down all your social media apps. Yeah. So it's a way to be more present at home and not doom scroll, and which is probably leading to better eating habits and better sleep and all these things. So I think we'll kind of probably come to that realization with like social media and AI and all these things where I could see a part of the population going back to like the, just the, not a home phone, but like a Nokia, like the old school phones.
That's already happening. So I've been hearing, because obviously with children, the conversation comes into play like, okay, people are starting to get cell phones. What age do you get your child a cell phone? Social media, all that. And I forget who said it, but they said like as their kids get older and start to like go out to places without their the parents there, they're going to have what's called a kitchen phone. And so it'll be a cell phone that stays at the house. It's in the kitchen. And so if they do leave, and it's an old school cell phone, like it's not going to have the social media, internet, any of that. If they do leave and go out, with their friends or whatever, they can take the kitchen phone. But also as, kids get older and they stay home alone with without parents there, there's no landlines anymore. I know a lot of people use like the Alexas and different things like that. But there's the kitchen phone. You can use it. So I agree with you. I think that's going to become more and more common. And even as adults, like sometimes I love my phone. I love the technology. We need it, obviously, as agents. But sometimes I hate being 100% accessible all the time. Yeah. Or having like it's constantly looking at something or anything.
And I know too, like just from personal experience, like whenever I leave my phone in the house while we go out, or if I just, leave it in the house while we go for a walk, like I feel
lighter.
Yeah. Yeah. Different. And I think, I do think with real estate, with every industry, like if you don't adapt and you don't adopt change, like change is inevitable. It's going to happen. And you can't be late to it or else you're going to get left behind. So like the agents that, don't utilize social media, they don't adopt AI into their business, like you're going to struggle because the top agents, the top teams,
it's always learning what's coming next.
They are ahead of the game. And so they're just going to continue to eat up market share while you get left behind. So I think you do have to, always be learning, always be growing and adapt to that change in order to thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you hear, while we're on AI still and like the top, real estate dominant, one of them, Zillow. Did you hear about Zillow now being the only real estate brokerage pretty much, or I forget what they called it, within ChatGPT? This just happened, I think yesterday or the day before.
Maybe have that.
So apparently it's just, anytime someone goes, because they're saying people are utilizing ChatGPT more than Google now.
More than Google. Correct. Yeah.
And so apparently whenever anybody goes into, and I might not be 100% correct, so don't quote me here, but apparently whenever anybody goes into ChatGPT to search up something real estate related, it pulls to Zillow.
Okay.
So like Zillow will be the one feeding the information through that.
Yeah. The guy that talked at the conference I was at, his name is Marcus Sheridan. He owned he might still, I don't really know exactly his background, but owned a pool company. And so what he did, he realized like exactly what you said, where, ChatGPT AI is pulling everything from Google to get people the results, right? People are going into ChatGPT to ask questions on every topic. And so what ChatGPT does, obviously it pulls data from everywhere else. And so if you want to be pulled in to be part of that answer, that solution that it's giving, you need to be present on Google and things like that. So what he did is he started creating blogs that were then going to be pulled into all those search results, right? So answering the questions that everyone's asking, no one else is willing to answer, right? Like, how much do you charge? Like, what's why do people choose your competitors over you? Or like, what's the difference between, this level of service and this level of service? And so I think as agents, we should probably be taking that into consideration, right?
Absolutely. No, I think that's great. Like, that's great advice. And the one thing, my brokerage is actually talking about this, and so I did it, but you should search yourself in ChatGPT to make sure it has all the information right, because I did that and it did not. Like, it had most of my information correct. However, it was pulling up like a headshot and information from another Ashley Dailey realtor in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's not me. Please correct it. And I had to keep prompting it and keep making sure like it had a weird phone number for me. And I'm like, that's not correct. And so again, even if someone was just in ChatGPT searching me, they wouldn't necessarily get 100% of the right information. And I do have like a Google business page, and I have a lot of information on Google. So it's just reassurance that I need to be doing more.
Right.
So
yeah, those social media audits are huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So looking at the business that you built,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say you're most proud of?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say what I'm most proud of is obviously the amazing like clients that I have and the relationships that I've been able to build with them. That is top priority to me, because I always go into every transaction like I'm, again, not here to sell you something. I'm here to help educate you. And so I always want my clients to feel very comfortable and safe, whether that be selling or purchasing with me. But then in the other sense, I'm most proud of the way that I've grown my business. I've been able to remain authentic to who I am and what my values are with it, because sometimes you do see people in this industry lose that and still grow a successful business. So I'd say that is something I'm very proud of.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question.
Okay.
What is the most impactful book or podcast that you've read or listened to?
A book, and I read this recently. I think it was my first book I read this year.
Okay.
And it was called The Alter Ego Effect. Okay. And it was by Todd. I forget his last name.
I haven't read it, or else I'd help you.
Yes.
We'll throw it in.
Yeah, there we go.
Google. ChatGPT.
Yeah. But yeah, it's called The Alter Ego Effect. And I really liked it because it talks about, like, one thing I think we all struggle with is imposter syndrome, right? So no matter what career field you're in, or even in personal life, I think there's always that little voice that nags at us like, oh, I don't deserve to be here, or why do people trust me in this, or whatever it might be. It comes in many different forms. But he basically talks about creating an alter ego that, when it comes, he talks step by step how to do it, and you can implement it in multiple different areas of your life. But in the book, he talks, pick one area that you want to do this in, create an alter ego. Here's different things that you can look at, and implement it and see how your mindset shifts, and therefore how everything around that shifts. So I did that, and it works.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Send me that.
I will.
I'll add it to my list here.
Yeah. It's a really good book.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to touch on? There we go.
No, unless you would.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I know, this is something that I'm really proud of, that, I've taken action on, and it's just been so cool to get to sit down with agents like yourself and learn about your business, and then, give the viewers, the listeners, a chance to learn from some of the best in the industry. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll catch you on the next episode.